Hello and welcome back, everybody, to Cardboard Cast. We are going to skip ahead to round 14. The round 13 match was between Fusion Mew VMAX versus Gardevoir. Ended in a tie. We're moving on just because we don't have a lot of time today, and we weren't actually expecting the Lille Regionals to start with round 10 because the American Regionals don't start stream until like round 13 or whatever. So I thought we would not have to cast this many rounds, but here we are. So we're skipping ahead one round. We'll be casting the rest of the matches today. So it's this round, round 15, and then top cut after that. We got Neddy Kosek versus Edwyn Mesman. This will be Single Strike Lugia versus Gardevoir. So Single Strike Lugia is pretty interesting. We'll go ahead and switch over to the match feed. Joining me once again is Victor. And yeah, hi. Right. Yeah, still very popular, but not doing super well in like day twos and stuff. Oh, Vic is muted. Sorry, repeat everything you said.
Testing. 1, 2,
You're good now.
3.
You're good.
Okay. Sorry about that, chat.
My bad.
Anyways, what I was saying is that Single Strike Lugia, pretty cool deck. We haven't seen much of it. It's a lot of people are picking up that colorless Lugia instead. But it might be a good time to bring it back out because its main weakness, Charizard, kind of on. I mean, it's still popular, still the second most played deck, but not quite reaching that 15%. Hasn't been showing up in top 8s and whatnot. So it's a good time to bring out Single Strike Lugia if you're a Single Strike Lugia fan.
Yeah, these are two decks we haven't actually seen on stream yet from our casting today. So we have seen some Curlias, which you're going to see a lot of in this matchup. But the deck plays, and we have seen Gardevoir EX, but in a completely different context. So just brief summary of how the deck works. Both decks. Lugia V-Star primarily revolves around its ability Summoning Star, which allows you to put 2 colorless Pokemon that don't have a rule box from your discard pile onto your bench. So mainly what you're doing is you're trying to set up these Archeops using that Summoning Star ability. So Archeops has an ability called Primal Turbo. Once during your turn, search your deck for up to 2 special energy cards and attach them to one of your Pokemon. So very powerful, very effective energy acceleration. And turns out Single Strike Energy is a special energy. So you can use those to charge up your powerful Single Strike attackers with ease. Single Strike Energy does an extra 20 damage for any attacks you do to your opponent's active Pokemon. So if you attach 4 of them, you do extra 80 damage. So this deck specializes in hitting really hard, except not hard enough to KO Charizards easily, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The really like their best option for Charizards is like Urshifu VMAX, which a lot of decks just don't want to run if they don't have to. A lot of Single Strike decks don't want to run because it is kind of a big commitment and it's not super useful in the current meta right now, at least. So yeah, Iono coming down for Edwyn here, switching up the hands, and that hand doesn't look. I'm not sure if there's an Ultra Ball in hand for. No, there's not.
Is there any way to discard this Archeops?
Gonna have to do Capturing Aroma and hope for a Lumineon V here. That's a Tails. It's basic. So can get a Lumineon V in order to get something like Professor Burnett, and that's going to be a pretty common thing you see from Lugia players is you get this Lumineon V, you put it on your bench, lets you get any supporter you want. That was a heads.
It was a heads.
Oops. Oh, the clear die makes it look like it's a 5, but it's actually
it's
4.
really okay. It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
So we see the nest ball, and I think that Aroma heads, if we've seen the hand correctly, does mean that no attack is going to happen this turn.
Right.
Except Read the Wind, which isn't what you want to be doing.
Yeah, so this is the nightmare of Lugia, and what happens, unfortunately, fairly often The Iono from Edwyn did massive amounts of damage here.
Oh,
Uh,
actually, even with the tails, there's Spiritomb in play.
oh, Spiritom's down. I didn't even notice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So as Vic mentioned, Ridowin's basically all Lugia can do here. You just discard a card from your hand, draw 3 cards. It works out with the Archeops. You can discard it and then bring it back later with Summoning Star. Your goal is to get 2 of those Archeops in the discard so you can use the Summoning Star and get them both into play. Sometimes you get forced into only getting 1 Archeops, which isn't ideal. But yeah, that Spiritomb really is a super powerful card, not just against this version of Lugia, but also against colorless.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Neutralizes your Luminions completely with its Fettered in Misfortune ability. Super, super powerful, and just kind of stops this deck hard and forces it to brick way more often. If you just don't naturally draw into your Burnett, it feels really bad. And I think you're just going to see a lot of Spirit. You've just seen a lot of Spiritomb already today. Like, all the
Yeah.
Lost Boxes are playing it. A lot of it because Colorless Lugia did win the last regional here in America. So we see a lot of people just respecting it super hard.
I mean, it is telling that the Lugia deck plays to Luminion, right? That
Yeah,
basically indicates how important that card is to the deck, and not playing not playing with it, basically not having access to it, makes the deck so much clunkier. You can't get the boss when you want. You can't get Burnett's when you want. You can't discard your Archeops when you want. And we're seeing that come through. I think the one tech that I wanted to mention is that a lot of Gardevoir decks have been cutting that Temple of Sinnoh, which is really powerful against Lugia. But if they're cutting it in favor of cards like Spiritomb, maybe it ends up being a wash, and maybe it's favorable for Guardy regardless of the Temple of Sinnoh
yeah.
or not.
And I have seen the future because I was clicking around earlier. I did see that there is a Temple of Sinnoh in Edwyn's list.
Oh, Edwyn is super teched out for this matchup.
Yeah, so Edwyn is fully prepared for this. Not just the Spiritomb, but with the Temple of Sinnoh as well. Just super prepared and is gonna really make Neddy work for this, especially in this game where Neddy's already a turn behind effectively. Level
We do
ball coming
know
down here, getting another Curly. I can do more refinements.
we do know Neddy is a turn behind, but can Edwyn punish that? Can he attack this turn? Can maybe I mean, to be able to do so, you would still need to find Rare Candy, Gardevoir EX, and you would
Right.
need a couple energies in the discard pile to make that attack worthwhile. So it might not happen.
Yeah, Guardy is a very interesting deck. So let's go ahead and explain. Do you want to explain how Guardy works actually?
Yeah, Gardevoir EX has that ability. Sorry, I forget what it's called, but do you remember?
Psychic
Off the top of your head?
Embrace.
Yeah, Psychic Embrace does let you charge up your attackers with the downside of putting 2 damage counters on them for each psychic energy you attach from your discard pile, but you can kind of do it as many times as you like as long as you have an energy in that discard, as long as you're not knocking out your own Pokemon. And that lets you power up some very powerful attackers, including that Zacian V you see on the bench, using that Storm slash attack. And if you have enough energies in your discard pile and a Gardevoir EX in play, that does mean that you can take huge, huge knockouts and kind of win the game that way. Gardevoir is one of the slower decks in the format, though, because you do need time to get those energies in this card pile. You do need time to evolve up your basics into those Curlias, into that Gardevoir EX to be able to swing for the damage you need. You need to knock out these higher HP Pokemon like Lugia V-Stars. And that's why we see Edwyn having a slower start, but a slower start doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing in the Gardevoir matchup.
Right. Yeah, Gardevoir is very much a comebackable deck. It's very common. Like if you're down like 3 prizes and you haven't even taken a prize yet, like it doesn't even mean the game's over. Like you can still win the game pretty easily.
Yep.
You just got to take a lot of 2 prize knockouts, potentially 3 prize knockouts. And as the longer the game progresses, the easier it is for Gardevoir to take those big knockouts because you just have more energy in the discard pile. You can just accelerate it even faster. The Shining Arcana Gardevoirs do so much damage so easily. And then Zacian V as well, which has an ability which sometimes gets used, but not super often, but also has the same attack as the Gardevoir, so just can do a ton of damage. And who knows, we'll see Spiritomb do 10 damage as well with its Fade Out attack.
So Neddy here going to most likely take a huge knockout on the Zacian V with his Lugia VSR, because I think actually no, had to play the Burnett this turn, right?
Yeah.
So can't play the boss in the hand. So just gonna have to go down to 5 prizes, and I think that's exactly where Gardevoir wants to be. You know, if you're down 1 prize, not really an issue at all, because you can start chaining those huge knockouts back to back to back in conjunction with you're usually 4 copies of Iono to kind of disrupt your opponent. Add in some Spiritomb in there, sprinkle in that Temple of Sinnoh, and you've got yourself a win against a deck like Lugia that relies so heavily on the special energies.
Right. The big kind of up in this matchup normally for Lugia is the fact that it is so easy to knock out the Gardevoir EXs with your Tyranitar. You also have Yveltal. I'm presuming Neddy is running the Yveltal. It's just a single prizer Dark Attacker that can also one-shot things like Gardevoir EX if you attach enough Single Strike energies. So having those Dark Attackers that hit for weakness lets you take it out really easily, and that can be a pretty strong win condition, is just trying to force a Gardevoir whiff. Just getting rid of one and then hoping they can't put another one down the next turn so you prevent an attack afterwards. But we'll see how Edwyn responds here. Is going to promote the Zacian, so is going to go probably just for the KO here if the energy allows.
There's plenty of energy in the discard already. Another one being added to it thanks to that refinement. Another one in hand, so
2 in hand
awfully
now,
close. Yeah, awfully close to that knockout if he doesn't have it already.
Yeah, let's see. So you need to hit 280, but there's also V-Guard energy if you are going to attack with Zacian, so you need a lot of energy. Let's see, 8. You would need 9 energy if you're attacking with Zacian, right? So
there's a reversal in hand, so maybe we'll see the baby Guardy come through. I think there's a reversal in hand at least.
Yeah, the baby Gardevoir helps you just kind of go through these V-Guard Pokemon. Is actually just going to play the boss here, which is huge to knock out the Tyranitar, and also just much easier to KO because there is no V-Guard in this.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Much easier to reach these numbers. Plus, you're taking down a higher priority target, making it a little bit harder for Lugia to punish you right back, knocking out that Gardevoir EX.
Yeah, and that's 2 Single Strike energies just gone now too. You do have a card in the deck called Urn of Vitality. It lets you shuffle back in these Single Strike energy cards from your discard pile into the deck. Only 2 of them per one, but usually these decks run 2 to 3. So those energies aren't gone forever, but it's still like energy gone now. Neddy does have an Urn in hand, so a response is still possible, but you probably want to get rid of the Zacian. That will just KO you if you leave it as is.
Yeah, I think you KO the Zacian, go down to 3 prizes, but the situation here is looking really good for Edwyn. It's all in Guardy's hands now. I think the deck in general is pretty resilient to hand disruption, because you do get those refinement Curlias out. You can draw yourself out of certain situations. You can start attacking with 1 prizers. Even if they do get the boss KO on Gardevoir EX, you can evolve another one and then make them do it again, which is very hard to do.
And yeah, it's so tough for Neddy here too, because with that Spiritomb down, you're not getting Luminions down, which means like getting bosses is so hard. You just discarded 1 boss. You're basically just never gonna boss that Gardevoir when you want to. Does draw into another boss though.
Yes, looks like research is coming through. So
no, it's a Penny.
Penny. So Penny and no boss means that if Edwyn can respond to this Lugia with a baby Gardevoir attack, maybe thanks to the help of a reversal energy or something like that, can take the game by storm, can start making it super, super tough.
Yeah, reversal energy, not a card that we've seen today, I believe, but it's a very wordy card. But basically all it means is if you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent, if you're effectively behind, you can attach it, and it's worth 3 energy to any evolution Pokemon that doesn't have a rule block. So in this case, it's really just the Gardevoir. I guess Curlia too, if you wanted to use its slap attack for 30 damage. But you attach it to your Gardevoir, and it's worth 3 psychic energy effectively, because it counts for any type of energy. So 1 reversal, 1 attach, instantly turns Storm Slash into its 150 normal power attack. And then you can attach as many psychics as you want after that, and you can hit super high numbers really easily without needing a ton of energy in the discard. Like, if you're trying to hit, 300, then you just need the 1 reversal and then 5 psychics. Easily, you hit that, no problem. Very tough situation now for Neddy. But Edwyn does need the pieces first.
That's true. Does need to hit into them. And we've talked a little bit about how we think Edwyn is in a winning position, but that's not to be confused with winning the prize cards on the board, which does mean that Edwyn does have access to that reversal energy, like we
Okay,
were
it does
saying.
draw Rare Candy and Gardevoir, so
Okay, that's pretty good.
the options are there now. Yeah, I was debating, I think either that or Ayano, because didn't want to give up the other pieces in hand in case,
Yeah.
because like Ultra Ball in hand, right? Like if you just draw into the Rare Candy, then you don't need to, and or if you Ayano, you might just whiff all the pieces. So would have been fine either way here, so didn't matter too much. Grabbing another Gardevoir.
Maybe getting both of them out should make the game pretty clean.
Yeah, if they both get out, then Gardevoir KO is a little bit scary. No, Gardevoir KO doesn't matter because then Gardevoir EX KO doesn't matter because then you just kill the next thing with Gardevoir. So pretty.
You have to get rid of the stuff with all the energy on it.
Right. Yeah. This is kind of the Gardevoir problem is once things get super charged up, you have to deal with it in some way. You have to do something, and if you just try to take out the accelerator or anything, any issue on the bench, then you're not solving that problem, and you're going to get one shot again next turn.
Is there a reversal energy in hand? Maybe I missaw it.
Maybe not.
Looks like we're seeing some energy counting. So if there is no reversal, and that is true.
But didn't Ultra Ball away the Psychic, so
yeah.
I don't think there's no more Psychic or no more Ultra Balls.
So there's no reversal. Ooh, okay. There's a Greninja though, and one Psychic in hand.
It still needs. Yeah. So how many energies? This needs 8 total. So yeah, so this should be fine now.
Okay. 2 Psychic left in deck, so we should be good.
Oh, that deck is looking mighty thin already. Fortunately, I already used the Shining Arcanas. I think, was that first energy on the Gardevoir from Shining Arcana? Or was that a previous
attach? I think it was attachment from last turn.
Okay.
Onto the Kirlia, yeah.
So doing the Super Rod now. Gonna bring back that Zacian V. That might be it. Yep. And the Mew as well.
Fog Crystal out Mew, making sure that there's no way to lose to some sort of Iono shenanigans.
Yeah, Mew can bail you out of things like Iono, Roxanne. Its Mysterious Tail ability allows you to look at the top 6 cards of your deck and get an item out of there, and there's a lot of good items in this deck, so you can randomly get something useful. Conceal cards now. There's a reversal. We finally got it. Unfortunately, can't attach it now. But no need for it. Does have the energy in the discard. Attaching 6, again, each time you Psychic Embrace 1 energy, you take 2 damage on that Pokemon, so there is the 8 energy necessary to get this one shot with the Brainwave attack. So 60 plus 30 for each Psychic energy. That hits 300. And again, doesn't have to go through the V-Guard. So now Neddy in a very tough position here. Is probably just, I don't know.
Looking to bring up the Archeops, knowing that Edwyn is at 2 prizes. If you bring up a Lugia, V-Star, or any 2 prizer for that matter, it's going to get knocked out pretty quick.
Right.
So makes sense to attack with this Archeops. Normally, I mean, it's not in the deck for the Speed Wing attack, but certainly there's positions where it's the right thing to do, and this is one of them.
Yeah, it looks like it's Speed Wing angle. Akko in chat saying Guardy sequencing seems hard. Yes. It's hard in a lot of different ways. Like, it's not even just hard in the sense of like trying to maximize things happen. It's also hard to like sometimes you have to sequence it for like time efficiency too, depending on how much time is remaining in the round.
That's true.
Which is kind of completely shifting your mindset and makes things really tricky. So there's a V-Guard coming down on the Archeops as well with the double turbo. It's just going to be a Speedwing knockout. Could play the Iono in hand. Is going to do so. Shuffling all his cards to the bottom of the deck. Neddy will draw 3 cards, and Edwyn will draw 2.
Less than 30 minutes left on the clock, meaning that Yet again, we might be seeing a 2-game series.
Yep.
Kind of Gardevoir's bread and butter.
Yeah, this is another reason why I know you're not big on Gardevoir for this reason, because of how long the games go.
Yeah. I mean, it's even Turbo Lost Box can have some long games for sure. We've seen that a couple times on stream already. But I think that that problem is exacerbated by the way Guardy wants to win its games. You
Yeah.
play so many copies of Iono. That's such a core integral part of your game plan that you can never really concede early. You're almost never out of it because you can Iono and just hope that they don't have the pieces that
Right.
they need to close out the game. So you will almost always be playing a long game one, even if it's not a game that you're enjoying, you're not doing well in. You kind of have to play it out regardless.
All right. So Neddy now has his win condition of Tyranitar, Boss, Gardevoir. Hope for the best. Hopefully has an energy in hand, because if the Archeops dies, you only have one to accelerate, and that can make things pretty tricky from there.
Yeah, you would need one of Single Strike Energy or DTE in hand plus Boss. And you also have to hope that Edwyn can't find the boss themselves this turn.
Yeah, Tyranitar V's Single Strike Crush attack does a ton of damage. It also mills yourself a little bit, but it requires 2 Dark Energy and 2 Colorless. So the way you normally see that, especially against Guardy, is like 2 Single Strike Energy, because the Single Strike Energy counts as fighting or dark. And then like a double turbo gets you the 2 colorless, and then you're good to go. So you can accomplish that with on Archeops as long as you have one of the energies in hand.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that Mew that we were talking about as a response to the Iono and the knockout. Super Rotting, 1 Psychic Energy, primarily for the Shining Arcana attached, I presume.
Maybe concealed cards as well.
Concealed cards, yep. Just trying to maximize the potential draws here.
Mm-hmm. To find that boss's orders.
Especially with 1 card in hand, yeah. Shining Arcana.
Do we see it?
There's the Psychic. Let's see where that
So
goes.
I believe you just concealed.
Yeah.
2 more cards. Do we find the boss?
No. Does get the Iono.
That is a nice consolation prize, because
Yes.
Iono them down to 2 means it's... I mean, they could still potentially get the KO, but it's almost guaranteed that they don't. It's a very high chance, especially with Spiritomb in play.
This Iono would help out Neddy here, because Neddy's hand has none of the pieces that they want. So,
but in theory, you should probably play it. Right?
Yeah, you should still, because like again, they need 2 pieces here, which they're just probably not getting off 2 cards, right? So
we see a pause,
thinking, and it's just gonna pass. So now Archeops isn't all that's needed is the boss, which unfortunately Neddy did not hit, because with both Archeops in play, you can just double attach to the Tyranitar, so you don't need the energy in hand. Is searching through the deck, thinking it out here.
I wonder if it would have been better to just attack with the baby Guardy here. I mean, I guess you want to keep that Shining Arcana, but if you're good down to 1 prize, then Zacian should lock it up, right?
Right.
So now you just need boss, like you were saying. Whereas if you just knock out the Archeops, forcing Neddy to find the second piece. I mean, he might be out of DTE. So if you knocked out an Archeops and he doesn't have DTE, that's like, it would be impossible.
Right.
To make that play.
We saw 2 DTs already go down.
So I think I would have liked to see the knockout here.
And there's the Iono, which will just push Edwyn closer to the boss.
That is true.
So there's not something better here. This is probably just over with the draw power that Edwyn will have. I'm not sure if Edwyn even has any energy left in deck. Still nothing super useful for next turn for Neddy. Capturing Roma does thin out here, but also shuffles those cards from the Iono back to the bottom of the deck, or back into the deck, back to the top potentially.
Spiritomb putting in some overtime work right now. Because Neddy has an Ultra Ball in hand, so... And I'm just got Tails off the Capturing Aroma too, so would normally be able to boss next turn, but in this case cannot.
All right. Didn't get the boss for Edwyn, so there's still maybe a chance. I'm not sure how many cards are left in deck. Shining Arcana? No boss still.
He really needed to take the knockout last turn. If
Yeah,
I'm not mistaken, I don't see
did at
why
least
you
get
wouldn't.
reversal for the concealed. Did get the boss.
Oh, there it is. Going
Clutch,
to
very, very, very clutch draw there. If that reversal was whipped, it
yeah.
was over. Yeah,
Look
that
at just
that boss
look at
being
the
like
relief
basically at
on
the
its
bottom of the deck.
face.
Oh my gosh.
Very, very close. Yeah, I would have liked to see the knockout the turn before, but not doesn't get punished. And
Right,
aside from that, the sequencing has looked pretty good. Putting that one energy back with that super rod, for example, I think
right.
saved him there.
Yeah, they
Given
drew
that
into
boss
it,
was
so
one
I
of his
mean,
last
like, yeah,
cards. Yeah.
they are conned into it. Even if they needed that specific energy, they could have gone it. So, really, really good play from the Garda here. Akko and chat bring up a good point that if you don't take if you go down to one prize, then you can't reversal anymore, and there
But
was one more in deck.
you have enough energy to KO with Zacian anyways in your discard, right? Like no matter what.
Right, the Zacian did go down, yeah. So
Yeah.
right, because that went
I
down
think
the turn that was passed. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right, right. So you just knock out BB Guardian, you have Zacian to kind of close out the game. So I think that makes the most
Ooh,
sense.
double Archeops there is like fine as long as you get your Burnett. It doesn't actually
Yeah.
matter. If you don't get the Burnett, which is pretty likely with Spiritomb in play, it can be a bit of a
Mhm.
problem.
Something Lugia can do if they're going first is to Luminion preemptively, which is kind of neat. You can Luminion for Burnett,
Right.
but it will come to bite you if Guardy plays Iono that turn, which out of all the decks in the world to do it,
Yeah.
it would be Guardy.
Yeah, something to note too is that I haven't seen Neddy's exact list. I'm assuming Neddy has it collapsed because like all Lugios do. But Edwyn also plays collapse, so things like Luminion aren't like this. Oh, just starting it. Cool.
Ooh.
Things like Luminion aren't that bad in theory because you can collapse them pretty easily in a matchup like this because sometimes your opponent will just do it for you. Is going to leave with the Metasagoza. That is a head school. Once again, looks like a tails, but is a head. It's going to grab the Archeops. And we're going to get the... wow!
Double Archeops.
2 Archeops prize? No problem. Jeez.
Optimal prizing.
Who needs Burnett or Luminion? We're fine. Cool. All right.
I fear that we may be looking at another tie.
Well, the Luminion start maybe can swing
Okay,
this one
that's
way,
true.
but
That is true.
again,
Neddy
this
going
is like the
first.
biggest issue that was not happening last game. Is Neddy just like again? Neddy was a turn behind, and that turn lost the game basically, right? So like,
Yep.
just not whiffing that badly is potentially enough to swing everything. I believe does have a nest ball in hand too. Did just get the Lugia with that, and is going to pass. VIP in hand for Edwyn. Does have 2 Gardevoir EXs in hand as well, and a Curlia, Refinement Curlia. There's 2 types of Curlias. We didn't talk about the other one. It did show up briefly in the last match, but wasn't really relevant. I believe it's not from Silver Tempest. It's from Astral Radiance.
That sounds right.
Later? No, is this from? Where is this Curlia from? Chilling Rain. Chilling Rain. Wow. It has a Mirage Step attack, which allows you to search your deck for up to 3 Curlia and then put them on your bench. So you can use this to grab potentially 3 of the Refinement Curlias. Very, very powerful way to come back from a bad start. And very effective tool because this deck sometimes likes to miss things like VIP passes and whatnot. So if you miss stuff like that, it doesn't mean the game's over like it would in some other decks. You do have a chance still with that Mirage Step Curlia. But it looks like we're getting a probably decent start here for Edwyn anyway.
Yeah, it's interesting that so many players are choosing to play this Mirage Step now. There was a time where it was popular in the very beginning. The Japanese list all played it, and then there was a time where it was very unpopular around NAIC. Everyone started cutting that Mirage Step, and then in Worlds, it came back in vogue, partially because of Tord, and I believe the logic was that it's really strong against DTE Mew because their game plan was to Lost City all your Curlias, and if you have 3-4 Curlias in addition to Rolf that could candy to Gardevoir, that wasn't really a concern. But even as Lost City DTE Mew falls, by the wayside. People are still choosing to play that Mirage step. I'm not sure if I agree with it, but I'm not enough of a Guardian expert to really have a strong opinion on it.
Yeah.
It is definitely a good backup plan if
Yeah.
things go wrong.
I think that's probably just why we're seeing it still. Is it's just such a strong anti-brick tool to fix really bad starts. So seeing Teal cards to start there. Gonna use the Messagoza now, since both players can use it. This is just heads all the time. Let's see what's grabbed here. Does have Candy, does have the Gardevoir. I think, no, they Ionoed away the Gardevoir, so those are gone.
Something interesting that Edwyn chose to do is to not bench the Spiritomb this game and just wanted to go wide with, the
Yeah.
4 Ralts. I think that makes sense given that Neddy already started 1 Lumineon and
Right.
already Ultra Balled away 2 Archeops. So the value of the Spiritomb definitely diminishes greatly, and you do enjoy having that extra bench space to work with if you can afford it.
For sure. Yeah. Totally understandable. It does mean that Neddy can potentially get whatever bosses they need later in the game, but you can always just bench Spiritomb later, right? When a KO is taken. So totally fine, and gives Edwyn kind of a stronger draw power at the start of this game. So Nestball coming down. Tyranitar V gonna get ready and loaded here. Lugia V-Star also down, so that Summoning Star is gonna come into play very shortly. Gonna Capturing Roma first. I cannot see what that is. Again, Tails, you get a basic. Heads, you get an evolution Pokemon. Gonna grab. Okay, it is a heads. Gonna grab Lugia V-Star just to thin out the deck a little bit. Nope, second guessing it.
Thinking about grabbing Archeops, but realizing
it's an
there's no
Archeops.
to grab.
There are no more evolution Pokemon in the deck, so
we see that Summoning Star, a very cool ability, but unfortunately only ever grabs one thing, pretty much.
Primal Turbo #1 coming down. My dog is jumping on me. What's up, buddy?
Really, I see Shiro is a big fan of Primal Turbo.
I guess so, yeah.
The birds flock into the field.
Wasn't there another Archeops before that also had a really broken ability, a really good ability?
There's an Archeops that's banned and expanded because it prevents evolution.
Oh, I see. That seems pretty good. That seems like a pretty good ability. Pretty good effect. So there's the T-Tar. Is going to just do the Cragalanche attack, which we haven't actually talked about yet. It's the first attack. It doesn't one-shot the, say, Gardevoir EX, but it can be used on these smaller Pokemon. Actually, a lot of these Pokemon that Edwyn is playing is weak to Dark type. So using the Cragalanche attack only does 60 damage, but can go up to 100 with Single Strike, and then sometimes hits for 2x. But it also discards the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck, so a little extra mill action as well is always nice when you can just do it,
I think part of the math that Neddy is doing here is that Edwyn is very unlikely to be able to respond to this Tyranitar with a KO,
Right.
given that there's only 1 energy in the discard. So it's pretty safe to Cragalanche here, unless your opponent hits like a really, really crazy hand of like Rare Candy Gardevoir EX, Rare Candy Baby Gardevoir Reversal Energy, that type of thing, but extremely unlikely. So taking that Cragalanche, trying to get value out of this Tyranitar, trying to let it survive 2 hits, maybe KO Gardevoir EX next turn if Edwyn chooses to Rare Candy to it.
Yeah, really solid here for Neddy. Good options. Worker coming down, so goodbye Messagoza. Drawing 3 cards. Got 2 level balls, I think, off of that, so can start flooding with more Curlias here. First level ball coming down. Did play Curlia from the hand. Does grab the Manaphy. I guess
just as refinement fodder, I guess. I don't know what it looks like there's one other refinement Curlia in hand already, so maybe one is unavailable.
Yeah, I don't know if we saw the prizes. I don't remember what they are though. I didn't notice anything weird.
Yeah.
With them.
We see the Mirage Step come into hand. That attack obviously not going to be very good. Just going to get discarded. Not even going to bother with evolving that up. Rare Candy. I think 2 Rare Candies are in hand now. But do you even want to go into Gardevoir EX this turn? I think no. I think you just
It's
want to
pretty
set up.
risky, especially without
Yeah.
Spirit Tomb down.
Yeah. Actually, I think keeping the Mirage set might have been good in this situation, just to have it as a Curlia. But I guess if you have Rare Candies, oh, okay, there's a 3rd refinement. Never mind. If there's
All
3
good then,
refinement in
yeah.
deck and you have it in your hand,
Simply draw
that's
it.
definitely better. Yeah, that's definitely better.
So we're not gonna see any attacks this turn, just more draw power again. Not the end of the world for a Gardevoir deck. A very comeback possible deck. Even if you go down a bunch of prizes, as long as you don't go down too many prizes before you start attacking, you can definitely still make it work just by chaining together a bunch of 2 prize knockouts. So very doable still for Edwyn here.
We've got a question in the chat. What Mirage Step is Vic talking about? We just mentioned it. You just missed it there. But we'll bring it back. We'll bring it back on stream.
Yeah, let me show it again for anyone who missed out on it. But yeah. But yeah, it's just another option to bring out more Corellias potentially, but is actually going to bench the Manaphy? Okay.
I mean, you do need to sacrifice something here if your opponent doesn't boss. Or you just collapse it away. I mean, that works too.
Yeah, because now Luminion can't happen. Now boss can't happen, but you also don't care about the boss as much here.
You see Ultra Ball away. 2 Lugia pieces. You don't need those anymore. Looking through Neddy's deck, though, I don't see the Evil Toll, and I think most Lugia lists have been forgoing it. Oh, there it is. Never mind. I spoke it into existence.
They heard you, yeah. I think they're not running the Stonejourner.
I think I saw a Stonejourner.
Okay, then we both cannot see them. This seems like just a very standard list then. I guess Penny's the least standard thing.
Yeah, there's Penny, but no Urshifu is what we see, and no Cobalion. I don't think I've seen either.
Yeah, without either of those, the Charizard matchup probably doesn't feel great, but you can at least 2-shot for 2-shot.
I don't think you're winning that one, but you can afford to take a loss, is what I would say.
Yeah,
it's not 15% of the room, so I think it's reasonable.
13% is, especially day 2. If you know you're making day 2, then you don't have to worry about Charizard apparently.
Yeah.
Pennying the Luminion, so now can play Luminion for a future turn without having to deal with this collapse, and is going to single strike Crush again. Discard 2 cards. Psychic and Rare Candy, not that bad. Pretty good actually.
Yeah.
Those Rare Candies are not going to be relevant anytime soon with the 3 Curlia in play. And getting an extra Psychic in there is nice. So now Edwyn can finally respond to this Cragalanche onslaught.
So I believe we will probably see a Baby Gardevoir knockout, but you do have to chain them back to back, and you do have to maybe find boss at the right time, given that Neddy is most likely going to attack with something like that Evil Toll or the Archeops next turn. So Edwyn can definitely make the comeback, but it will require a lot of the pieces coming into place at the right time.
Right. Ball Crystal coming down. Grab either a basic Psychic Pokemon or a Psychic Energy with that. Gonna grab the Psychic Energy. Just needs to build up more Psychic in the discard now. Can use the reversal. I believe there's one in hand, so this should be pretty doable as long as the pieces are there. Gonna do conceal cards. Gets level ball and a collapsed. Next refinement coming down, getting rid of the level ball. It does have one more refinement left.
I see Ultra Energy. I see Ultra Ball.
Yeah, it should have the pieces then here. How many do you need for? You need 6. Which I believe, yeah. Edwyn did a conceal cards on top of those, so so the pieces are there to get the KO on this Tyranitar at least.
I think it might end up coming down to that Temple of Sinnoh if we do see it.
Yeah, for sure. Very powerful.
Gardevoir EX hitting the bench now. Reversal onto the Curlia and Iono down to 4. Do we see Spiritomb come through this turn? Because that could be good.
That'd be a good turn for it, for sure. There's Spiritomb, so
there it is.
could
With
happen.
2 bosses.
Shining Arcana first, drawing 2 quick cards. Does get the Psychic, so can attach that and just minimize future damage as well, potentially. He's going to attach to that Curlia.
Makes sense.
2 bosses in hand, too, so just so ready for future turns now. And plenty of Psychics in this card. 3
bosses in hand. So as long as Neddy didn't hit an Iono off of those 4, I think Edwyn is in a prime spot to close out this game.
For sure.
Boss after boss after boss is kind of what you need.
5 Psychic coming down, so 100 damage on the Gardevoir through that Psychic Embrace ability from the Gardevoir EX. And gonna clean up that Tyranitar V with Brainwave.
One thing, though, is that Neddy does have the gift energy on that Tyranitar V, and there was no Temple of Sinnoh, so does get to draw a couple cards, does get to refresh the hand. Yveltal was put to the bottom of the deck, unfortunately, for Neddy, but probably can find a way to get it back if they so choose.
Right.
The question is, can they get it back and boss's orders and have enough energy to attack all at the same time? And that I'm not so sure about.
That's hard. Now the Spiritomb's in play. Pretty tough.
Mm-hmm.
And Edwyn just has a monster hand right now, too. So Single Strike Energies come back into the deck with that Urn of Vitality that we talked about earlier. Just shuffling it all back in. So the options are there regardless of whether a T-Tar comes out or a Yveltal comes out. And does have an Ultra Ball, so can grab any attacker Neddy chooses here.
But I don't think there's a boss. I think that's the one piece that Neddy is missing.
Playing down the Nest Ball or the Ultra Ball. Couldn't see which. Nest Ball looks like it.
Neddy's thinking about benching this Yveltal and attaching to it, but that would also leave it vulnerable to getting knocked out from like a boss. So I think Neddy's really considering if it's worth it or not.
Right. Yeah, this is something that if you haven't seen this deck before, you might be asking, like, why is it a problem if that gets knocked out? Even if you don't attach to it, it's because you can't. The Lugia decks don't run any kind of Pokemon recovery. You see a lot of Super Rods in a lot of these games from basically everybody, but Lugia doesn't play any of those. Sometimes you see like Thornton, but not really anymore. You used to see that in the past. Thornton would allow you to at least recover some basics here and there. But is going to grab the Yveltal with that Nest Ball. But yeah, once something gets knocked out for Lugia, it's just gone for the game.
I wonder if Yveltal is going to be attacking this turn into that baby Guardy. Are there... I mean, I guess it'd be better to attack with Archeops, but I don't even know if there's enough energy. It looks like there are.
There was a double turbo, so...
And one other colorless energy.
Yeah, if you attack with the Archeops, you're never attacking with this Lugia, which I guess is fine. Yeah, there's a gift there, so... I think
if you attack with Archeops gets KO'd, then Yveltal gets KO'd. Do you have what's needed to take that final knockout? I'm not sure of that either.
I guess the energy wasn't there. Unless there's one in hand. So I think I guess the energy wasn't there, so yeah, they have to attack with Yveltal here. Yveltal has 2 attacks.
Yes.
As Single Strike Wings, which is the strong one that we were talking about to like one-shot Gardevoir EX, but it also has the smaller one, which only requires 2 Dark Energy, which is Dark Cutter. This one, more than enough to deal with these weakened Gardevoirs. So right now, hits for 90 and then potentially times 2 depending on what it's attacking. So there's the Gardevoir down. And this looks very tough for Neddy now with just like no energy. Besides basically just relying on Single Strike Energy for the rest of the game now.
Yeah, I think. Well, it depends on how Edwyn reads the situation. If he might realize that energy is looking pretty thin, knock out the Evil Tall, or he could go for a boss play, which would also work. That does open you up though to potentially getting Ionoed out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what Edwyn chooses to do here. 3 boss in hand.
Super Rod coming down, getting the whole Ralts family back into the deck. Deck looking very thin at this point too.
Zacian in hand.
The collapse has been there for so long now. Let's see, Iono and Ralts off of the refinement. Getting another Ralts down would be pretty useful here. But you don't have the bench space to do anything else with it, so you have to put down the Zacian.
Yeah, I think you put on Zacian because another Ralts is kind of too slow. Now the question is, do you take the knockout with Gardevoir or take the knockout with Zacian here? Looks like thinking about taking the knockout with Zacian, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Your opponent will go down to 1 prize, but that's not an issue if you have a baby Guardy that's like all ready to attack next turn.
Yeah. It works out really nicely because now if you do get the boss Gardevoir KO here, you're still fine. You can still evolve that Corellia and have an option on the following turn. So a bunch of energy coming down, all going on, and Tyranitar getting knocked out.
In some regards, it's actually a good thing if you give out 2 prizes here rather than 1 because it does reactivate your reversal energy.
Right.
So you kind of want Neddy to go down to 1 so you can close out the game with a boss KO on the Lugia. The Lugia deck cannot get rid of this Lugia in any way. Penny, of course, only picks up basic Pokemon. Collapse Stadium already in play, so you can't use that to your advantage. So this Lugia is going to have to be a liability. It's just going to have to stay on the bench. We know that Edwyn has boss in hand. Neddy, I presume, assumes that there is boss in the hand, but if there's no Iono, there's nothing Neddy can do about it except just hope.
Yeah, time did expire, by the way. I didn't see when
Okay.
exactly it did. Let me see if I can tell. No, I can't tell.
So at this point, given that Edwyn is up 1-0, he just needs to not lose.
Yeah.
He can either win or not lose, and that would be enough.
Yeah, I'm going to assume it ended on Edwyn's last turn. So if that's the case... Oh, there is... Okay, there's some energy. So Lugia can do something here. Did just attach the 1 gift. Could have also put double turbo there, but decided not to.
Yeah, Neddy, I think, just has to take the KO. I mean, yeah. Or you can boss stall, but...
Does have Iono.
Okay. So I guess Iono taking the KO is the best route here.
Yeah.
Maybe like there's a world where there's not enough energy to retreat a Gardevoir EX. I don't know how many energy are left available for Edwyn, but since we're now in time, you can't win that way either. You could win in theory if you had enough time to do so, but if there's not enough turns, your opponent won't deck out and you won't win. So
yeah, kind of interesting to note that Edwyn did throw literally all the energy on the Zacian when it didn't need all the energy. So boss stall is going to be what is done here. So boss comes up. I think they're just going to take the KO then, right?
Just if you're gonna take the KO anyways, you might as well Iono this turn.
Yeah,
I think.
well, yeah. But getting 2 prizes regardless doesn't really matter. So is this just banking on not having the boss?
We see Pumpkaboo.
Yeah, Captain Roma.
So I guess Pumpkaboo does open up the option to collapse your own Lugia, but you don't have enough Pokemon to be able to do that. So
right,
just gonna thin the deck, and then Zacian. Boss should seal it up, counting all the energy.
He just needs 1 more energy, right?
I believe that's it. 9 times
30,
9? 330. Yeah, I think so.
I thought there was 8. And yeah, that's going to be a win for the Guardy. Again, very teched out and very ready for our opponent here. Maybe this player, maybe they didn't have the temple. Maybe I was looking at somebody else then. I don't know.
I was
But
lied
they didn't need
to.
it.
Yeah, you didn't. Spiritomb putting in the work, especially in that first game.
Yeah.
Huge.
Very, very huge. Very just, man, Spiritomb shuts it down so hard. Just not being able to grab the cards you need. Again, even that game, we like turn one, we were like, oh yeah, this is looking great for a Lugia player here. They got the Ultra Ball double Archeops. Didn't need to play Luminion. The Luminion start was bad, but they were able to get rid of it no problem later. And it just didn't matter. It just wasn't enough still because of the power of Guardy. Even with kind of a slower start, it still didn't matter.
Yeah. I think there's a real argument to play Spiritomb in this meta.
Yeah, seems good.
Fusion Mew is not super popular. It was on stream the round that we skipped, but generally DT Mew seems to be more popular because you can actually have a plan into Zard. So Spiritomb, I think it's the way to go, and it seems that what people are thinking right now, at least.
For sure. We're going to go to another break now before you go into Swiss round 15. This is the final Swiss round, and then after that is the 3 top cut rounds. So that'll be top 8, top 4, and then finals. So we'll be back in just a little bit. Don't go anywhere.